a lot of talk about recycling and illegal dumping, and I wanted to bring Nick Lee on from the Guam Environmental Protection Agency. Good morning, Nick.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
There was one thing that the mayor said about tell me one person that's ever been prosecuted for illegal dumping or littering. Do you know of any case?
Prosecuted? I don't know if I would say prosecuted, but there have been people that weren't let off the hook as easily as past practices.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, I can recall one, and that's the one in Jigo. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah.
You're talking about the Titano case, right?
Yeah. I don't even know whatever happened with that because that was just in and out of court for years.
And then
I
also,
think there was some summary judgment handed down on the defendant, and there was a writ of mandate to try to go after the individual's assets, but that did not yield anything, in terms of compensation towards the government. So that remains ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
The last I checked.
Yeah. Do you have any information on what the mayor was talking about this launch of this Reopen Guam and let's go clean up everything? Are you guys involved with that?
You're referring to Mayor Hoffman's conversation earlier. That's the first time that I've heard that. If they did talk about it at yesterday's mayor's council meeting, that must have been when I stepped out. I attended a bit of that just to give the mayor's council and the mayors an update on the status of their recycling funds appropriation for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean
that was a GVB meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
I was not wasn't part of that.
Mm-hmm. So what's up with the recycling revolving fund? Are they going to get their money or what?
That's the plan, and as I indicated to the mayors yesterday, the MOA is very close to completion on our end. We did complete a legal review of that. I did tell the executive director, Angel Sablan, that he should be expecting a call from us to sign off on it. As soon as our administrator clears it. The next steps would be for budget to clear it, and that goes through BBMR. Then it would go to the AG's office, and then finally to the governor's office for signature. There are some inner workings that will take place during that signature routing process. We do have to get a work request in with DOA to make sure that the accounts are set up and that there's no lag in terms of getting the funds deposited into the mayor's coffers. So we are motivated to get them the remainder of what was originally given to them in FY20. I'm sorry, in FY18. So I don't know if you recall, 34th Guam legislature gave the mayors about $2.1 million out of the agency's recycling revolving fund appropriation, and then a couple of things that happened along the way. I hear it from the mayors that the response for Mancud, the response for dengue, and now this COVID response has kind of presented some challenges for them to fully exhaust the funding. So, you couple that with some of the administrative issues that we brought up with them earlier this year and part of late last year in terms of certain forms and documentation, not being provided or not being correctly filled out properly, causing further delays. So we worked those things out. We're expected to give them the remainder of about $466,000 from that. A couple of the mayors were not shy about expressing their frustration on the waiting game, and the agency does. We do appreciate our partnership with the mayors, to get the cleanup program going. I did bring up the fact that our board authorized up to $900,000 for the mayor's island-wide environmental cleanup program come FY21, and that process for the MOAs was actually started much earlier. So we're doing what we can to limit the delays, so that the money can be used for cleanup, and go a long way towards towards beautifying the island.
Hmm. Did you say the last time they got funding from the?
Sign off and certify that the funds were used in accordance with the agreement that was put in place alongside with what the laws dictate. And that's a big liability, especially
Right.
when you're talking about a couple $1 million.
Right. So they were using the money for things that weren't within what the law had mandated, and an audit came out and showed that they were in fact not using it.
No, we just needed documentation to be done a certain way, and some villages were better about it than others. Angel and I did talk about, I guess, kind of a refresher course with mayoral staff in terms of what's required to fill out these island-wide environmental cleanup data forms. So there's a pretty strict checks and balances because we're not just going to take the mayor's office's word on the type of waste that was recycled and the volume of that waste. We're even going to check with the recycler.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these things are requirements that we place on the mayors. Our recycling officer works very hard to ensure that these things are done. But administratively, it didn't work out the way we hoped. So when we needed to reconcile invoices and purchase orders, and most other documentation that are associated with procurement, we weren't comfortable with some of the things that were being turned into us. So we've worked out most of that.
That's a nice way to put it.
I know, you're just being nice.
We weren't very comfortable with the way that thing looked.
Well, if you've got to sign off and certify over $2.1
Right.
million,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big liability.
Yeah.
Y'all don't have any superpowers or what? We can't just flex that.
Superpowers route, no signatures, no problem.
Not that I'm aware
No
of.
signed agreements, no problem.
Yeah. And if you've ever spent a few minutes in the room with Walter Leon Guerrero, you may not want to see him off too much.
Right. Yeah. Nick, and talking with the mayors, what they want to be able to do is to use this revolving recycling fund to pick up like illegal dumping, right?
Or
and
it has to be white goods.
Right, and I know that's what it has to be, and I'm not even sure what the law says or whatever, but that's what they say. They're like, man, illegal dumping is a bigger problem than some of these abandoned vehicles. I mean, and some of the mayors. But we're going to pop up this.
So it can only be for abandoned vehicles, or it can be for the white goods?
No, it could be for white goods. It could be for tires. It could be for.
What about toilet bowls?
No, I don't think so.
And bags of trash can't be used for bags of trash, right?
Your regular household waste is excluded from this, and that's in line with what the law dictates.
Right.
So it has to be something that the legislature has to change.
Yeah.
But I mean, recycling revolving fund, you would think that it would be for recycled goods. Household trash.
That's basically the priority group for waste that is eligible to be used for disposal alongside these funds. Yeah, that would have to change. If that's going to happen, that's beyond the scope of the agency.
Right. We're going to pop up a pic here, Nick. I don't know if you were watching our Facebook live feed, but this comes to us from Mayor's Pago Bay. I don't know if you saw this. It was going around last night.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, there's a new mountain in Pago Bay.
Where at Pago Bay?
Right. Well, if you go to the beach area, there's a house there, and it looks like they pulled into that beach area and just dumped. Man, it's there you go. Yeah.
Oh, I think this area, Nick, where there was actually a cleanup.
Right.
We went there. We did a whole live stream.
Yeah. Guess what? There's going to be another cleanup.
I remember this. Walt was there, the director.
Nicholas
was there. Yep. This was the cleanup that we went to. We did a whole live stream, and it's terrible because once you get out into the beach side and then you go to the right. Do you remember that, Nick? Can't remember.
That was an Earth Day cleanup performed by the agency.
Yeah. So this is the same area.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of trash.
I mean, Nick, I remember before the COVID, how much time did we spend together bonding over illegal dumping, going out to these different sites. I mean, God, I did about 10 Facebook Lives on illegal dumping.
And by the way, did you guys ever track down the hotel? Was it the hotel owner? The one where the abandoned parking lot in Tumon, where a lot of the homeless people stay.
David Sue.
Yeah.
The last information that I have about that is Glenn St. Nicholas, our solid waste program manager. He was able to get in touch with him through email. I'm not sure if anything was officially served to, in terms of a hard copy. I can follow up with him after we get off the line, just to see where that's at.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, if we're really, if Mayor Hoffman is talking about we're going to do this whole reopen Guam, let's clean everything up. That's one area that really needs to be cleaned up, and that's in the heart of Tumon.
It's just dirty, big beer cans everywhere. The rats.
Yeah, so this is two properties. This is the This is the Verona, and this is that parking garage structure.
And it's kind of behind Blue Lagoon Plaza.
Correct.
Yeah. And so what happens, Nick, and I'm sure you know, is there's a large group of homeless that they made that into a home for themselves. And I've gone by a couple times to shoot some video, and I'm kind of a big guy, but hearing 9-10 homeless guys drinking beer at 2:00 in the afternoon, not exactly wanting to go up in there and be like, hey, anybody want to do an interview?
Sure, yeah, make you think twice. I can read that, right? And the indication that we've received from the mayors and my good buddy Mayor Alec has been very critical. He has shared that he's seen a rise in illegal dumping, particularly during the public health emergency.
Because people have time. They're cleaning up, their houses and their properties and
dirtying someone else's.
Right, and there's not that many people out on the road, so I guess they take advantage of doing this in the cover of night, or I guess in our case, so even in the cover of day,
right,
when people were just
staying home. Yeah.
Right.
Nick, we're up against the top of the hour, but hey, let's make this a weekly thing. Are you done with your JIC 311 duties, or are you still answering phones over there?
I just pulled into Homeland, so after we get off the line, I got to put on my my call center voice.
Well, hello. What are the kind of calls you get? Are people upset with you,
hold
or
on,
are they super
guys.
nice?
We're KUAM FM Agania Guam. It is 8:00. Thank you so much for joining us here for the KUAM News Takeover of Guam's favorite. It is containing COVID. I believe we are now on KUAM TV 11.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So good morning to our KUAM TV 11 viewers. We're wrapping up with Nick Lee, the PIO for the Guam Environmental Protection Agency right now, who's also been pulling a double duty at Homeland Security, answering phones. He's a telemarketer for 311. Nick, so what kind of calls are you getting now from people?
It's things about the people want updates, as to when they're going to get their economic impact payment, the stimulus checks. A couple of questions about filling out the PUA form online, and a lot of inquiries as far as traveling into Guam. So we do appreciate those calls, so we could limit the misinformation that's going around.
That's coming out from Adelup?
No, it's not coming out. No, not from Adelup.
Oh, not that misinformation, right?
From people that are bored, that want to send something out for no good reason.
The fake memes.
Right,
yeah.
Right. People are I get a whole mix of things. There's people that are frustrated. There's people that are understanding. There's people that just want answers. A lot of the information that we do put out, we work with our media partners, just like KOAM. And by the way, congratulations on the Murrow Award for social media.
Thank you, Nick.
Right. So but sometimes low tech is the best tech, or is the only tech that many people have, and so not everybody's going to be able to hop online, or nobody's not everyone is comfortable with the social media account.
Right.
So we We work with that group primarily. If there's not everybody's going to be able to get online. We understand that.
It's got to be frustrating, Nick, when you have what do they call it? Rapidly evolving information that can totally change 180 degrees with little to no notice. Like with this incoming traveler thing, were there some changes over the last few days with that, Bree?
Right. Well, according to Dr. Hoa, when he came on yesterday, because he said no one was expecting that Philippine Airlines was going to announce that they were going to start their international flights, and what that meant for Guam was that beginning June 12th, we were going to see twice weekly flights from Manila. And so I guess there was this emergency meeting that happened on Sunday, and then there was another meeting that happened on Tuesday night, and so they talked about it. And this came after just Friday when the governor announced that effective June 1st, which was Monday, we were going to have this change in quarantine protocols where returning Guam residents would be allowed to home quarantine without a test. And so when we spoke with Dr. Hoa yesterday, he said because of the announcement of Philippine Airlines and we're going to start seeing international flights returning to Guam or an increase, that from now on, returning Guam residents coming from international international flights would have to have a PCR test within a week upon arrival in order to be allowed to home quarantine. Is that what you understand?
I'm going to preface this with this. There are always going to be challenges with communication. What are we on week 11, week 12 of response? I like things to be put in writing. I want an executive order, or I want some type of memo. And yeah, I was listening to the good doctor yesterday. But my interpretation of that was, these were all discussions. Based on how we're responding to controlling the virus now. Until I get something, in writing that's official.
Nick. But how many times has the governor gone on a press conference and said something that wasn't in writing that you guys have had to deal with the avalanche? Going back to my favorite example is when you go around this weekend. Maybe you're going to put a letter on your car, and if you're going to go to Payless, you put letter P. If you're going to go to the gas station, you put letter G. If you're going to go to the cockfight, you put letter C. And then what happened, right? You guys got flooded with all these calls. What letter do I put on my car to go?
Or CrossFit's open, but not gyms. What?
I
mean, dude.
And
I would just unplug the phone if I was at the jig. I'd be like, you know what? You want to give out all this jig-jag information? Just unplug it.
No,
that's what they call it. It should be called jig for jig-jag because it's always changing.
Yes, it's not changing as quickly as it used to, and I think that's attributed to everybody doing their part, to control the spread. But something that we do remind our callers is that we're not a decision-making body over at the Joint Information Center. So the only thing that we can provide is what's been provided to us. And it's not without its challenges.
Yeah.
Sometimes if there is a very pressing issue, we reach out and try to do a PSA with the media partners. But I will be here as long as the response requires me to. That goes the same with Jenna Blas, who's my partner in crime these days. Very, very capable.
I miss Jenna.
Yeah. Now you guys are doing the best you can do. You know what it reminds me of? The Batman movie with Jack Nicholson. Let's take it back here. Get the visual. Okay, ready? When Jack Nicholson went through the chemical accident and he went to the back alley plastic surgeon and he asked the surgeon to fix him. And then when he was done, we all know how the Joker looked, and the surgeon had says something like, well, look at the tools I got to work with here. So that's how I look at it. You guys are dealt a bad hand, and then you got to make sense of it to these people who are calling in a lot of times so frustrated because they can't get answers anywhere else.
So Jenna has to answer phones now?
She's been. We have 3 lines that are active. we try to catch all.
God, 3 phone lines. That thing must be ringing nonstop all day.
Who else is answering?
It has slowed down. You know, we also have a representative from public health, you know, with us as well. So that's been very helpful.
Right.
I mean, there are certain times of the day where we're not able to keep up with the calls, and then there are parts of the days where, you know, it's not active at all. And I think that's been the case over maybe the last 3-4 weeks. You know, it wasn't like how it was early in the
Right.
response. You know, there was when it was still fresh, and then you know, we understand a bit more about the virus and about, you know, the situation than we did back then. So
I think we all do.
Yeah.
right, and who knows what we'll understand in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe by then you'll be an expert on the pandemic unemployment assistance. Nick, we got to run. We got to run, man. But thank you so much for your time, and wash your hands. And you know, if the phone ain't ringing there at the JIC, maybe we'll start calling. Keep you guys busy.
You're welcome to call Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, Chris Bree. So you guys be safe, and then we'll talk to you next time.
Okay,
All
wash
right.
your hands. Okay, bye. Okay,
bye-bye.
Nick Lee, the Guam Environmental Protection Agency. Let's keep it on the phone.